All right, what's up everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 and a new report that has came out from Microsoft's filing or Microsoft's court case with the FTC based on the Nintendo Switch 2. But before we get into that, guys, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. Now let's go ahead and jump right into it here. Insider Gaming had the beat on this one, and the title of this is Nintendo Switch 2 to launch as early as 2024. So we all know there's been plenty of Nintendo Switch 2 rumors dating all the way back to 2019. I mean, it's been a while. There was Nintendo Switch Pro stuff, then there was Nintendo Switch Upgrade, then there was Nintendo Switch 2. There's been all sorts of stuff going on here. But there's a very interesting note from Microsoft's battle versus the FTC, which they did ultimately win, and the appeal as well. So Microsoft will be taking over when it comes to acquiring Activision Blizzard and all of those IPs. It's over with, so we can move on from that. But we're going to talk about something interesting from there, because in a paragraph discussing why Microsoft doesn't track Nintendo Switch's sales performance as opposed to PlayStation, the company did mention the successor to the Nintendo Switch. Quote, Switch was released 3 years earlier, and Nintendo is expected to release the successor to the Switch as early as next year, whereas PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X/S are at a different stage of the console life cycle, the court document does say. Now, Microsoft believes that since there is a next generation Switch coming next year, maybe they'll start tracking that instead compared to the Nintendo Switch. So I guess on that standpoint, but that's interesting that they don't, considering that they've released multiple games like Minecraft on the Nintendo Switch. So if you release Minecraft on the Nintendo Switch, I thought maybe you would track the sales of that, but hey, it is what it is on that front. Now, we also have other companies as well, like Ubisoft, that is talking about releasing a updated version of Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope on the Nintendo Switch 2, the next generation console. So the reason why people are starting to bring it up, hey, 2024, is because of all of this talk. Now, Doug Bowser, who is the marketing hand in terms of the major player or the top person here in Nintendo of America, I said, hey, they're very bullish on the Switch. It's going to last a bit longer, a few more years. But Nintendo has been saying that since a few more years ago. That's the funny thing. Nintendo, in terms of Shuntaro Furukawa, has been saying, hey, the Switch is going to be around for a few more years. And that went back as far as, I think, 2020 or 2021. So Nintendo's clearly gearing up for the next generation Switch. And it's just a matter of when they're going to announce it and when they're ready to do it. Obviously, all of the Switch Pro and all of the Switch 2 videos, people are tired of that overall, but it does seem like it's going to be coming into play here sooner than later. Now, the Nintendo Switch is still doing incredible, so we all have to keep that in mind. The Switch is still selling well. It's still outselling the Xbox Series pretty much every single month, despite there not being that bad of stock problems for it. The system is available to buy online and in stores, and it's also sometimes outselling the PlayStation 5, depending on the month, and depending on kind of like what's going on with software being released. So the Switch is still very much a player in today's game. When it comes to Japan, it pretty much dominates the sales charts. We've talked about that many times here because we actually see the week-to-week physical sales of software and hardware in Japan, and the Nintendo Switch is clearly dominating. And even when the PS5 kind of got a little bit of a glimmer there early in the year and everybody kind of jumped on that, that's all of a sudden reversed at this point. As of about March or so of this year, that's when things turned around and people stopped talking about it that much, you know, when it comes down to it. So the Nintendo Switch is still around, and I think that even after the Switch 2 comes out, I still think that the Nintendo Switch will be around. I still think that Nintendo might even have software for it. Some of the smaller games, maybe some of the stuff like the WarioWare stuff or whatever, I think those type of games could still be on the regular standard Nintendo Switch, just like PlayStation supported the PS4 for a number of years after the PS5 came out. Xbox One was still supported a number of years after the Xbox Series came out. Like, I really don't feel the need for Nintendo to completely abandon the system like they've done before in the past with many of their new systems that come out, and then the older system. There's no need to do that in this sense. They can build a real ecosystem of continuation between customers with the Switch and Switch 2 if they play it that way, which Nintendo has almost never done that outside of a few platforms here and there. I know, like the Nintendo like GBA to the DS, I know even if you look at the Game Boy Color, that was a little bit different though. So I think that there's a real opportunity to actually have that, and for fans to be able to progress over when they see a game that they love on the next system, or continue playing the regular standard Switch as well. So I think that would probably be the way to go, and I think that's how Nintendo's going to kind of position this. But let's talk about those explosive sales that Nintendo has when it comes to software, right? Because Nintendo of Japan actually published a top 30 list of the best-selling eShop games for the first half of 2023. Now, the reason why this is significant is that games like The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom sold over 1 million units on the eShop in the first 3 days in Japan. So there are serious numbers in terms of eShop sales that are being tracked, or at least Nintendo's tracking, that we're not getting on the physical charts, that we're not getting on the NPD, that we're not getting there. So we definitely have to be mindful of what's going on, because I've seen videos, I've seen articles, I've seen people say, oh, well, certain games aren't doing as well, or certain stuff isn't happening. Like, for example, Fire Emblem Engage, it's not selling as well. And oh my gosh, there's problems because of the physical charts. But then if you take a look at the digital charts here, you see that Fire Emblem Engage is actually the second best-selling game on the Japanese eShop for the first half of 2023, outselling big games that we know do really well digitally, like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 3, Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Kirby's Return to Dreamland. All of these games do well on the eShop and sell well. Fire Emblem Engage is actually above them in Japan. So this top 30 list was very interesting. So I do think that, once again, like if you look at Fire Emblem Engage, because that's been the topic of some discussion in the Fire Emblem community, was it a failure? Was it this or was it that? I think that this just alone shows that there's definitely a lot of people that are picking up that type of way. And I think that if you combine it with what Nintendo's doing with the game vouchers, Fire Emblem Engage is part of that game voucher program. It's eligible for that. So I think that's where a lot of the Japanese consumers and just people in general are picking up Fire Emblem Engage. But in Japan in particular, that game is incredibly popular. It's doing really well in Japan, whereas here in the US, it's not quite doing as well. Like the top 30 for the US, it's a little bit different when it comes to that. But in Japan, Fire Emblem Engage has been doing really good, and it sold really well digitally. So that's good for Fire Emblem Engage. I don't think it's a flop. Some people are trying to say that it was. I don't really think it's that, but it's not quite the game that Fire Emblem Three Houses was. It's not that next big Fire Emblem like numbered entry. It's more of an anniversary game that got delayed, and after you play the game you kind of realize, okay, yeah, like it has some of the best gameplay, if not the best gameplay in Fire Emblem history. Like I will go to bat for the gameplay, but some of the story stuff isn't quite as good as previous Fire Emblem games. The characters, the story, the structure, stuff like that, but man, the gameplay in there is awesome. But it's just interesting to see Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. We all knew this game was selling incredible. Like I stated, it sold over 1 million units in the first 3 days in Japan on the eShop, according to Nintendo. But it's continued. Like it's the best-selling game in the first half, and it just came out, right? So they're probably tracking up to about, what, June or so? So it came out in May. So the fact that it's the best-selling there, that shows you how massive of a seller Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is. And I guess we can talk about this a little bit more, but there's rumors, shout out to my man Paul Gale, he's got some numbers apparently, that show that Tears of the Kingdom is right around 18 to 20 million units, 18 plus million units, which would be incredible considering the game is only a couple months old at this point. There was a lot of talk if The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom would be able to outsell Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I think it was a bit short-sighted when people said stuff like that, because people didn't realize how long Nintendo's probably going to have this game on the market and sell. Breath of the Wild was a game that sold consistently throughout the life of the Nintendo Switch. Tears of the Kingdom is going to be a game that sells consistently at the end, obviously a huge amount because of the install base, but then it's going to continue to sell years down the line. Just because the next system is coming, that doesn't mean Tears of the Kingdom is going to stop selling, because I think that Nintendo is going to put a version of that on the next Switch and also have backwards compatibility. So I feel that they're just going to continue on with that. They're not going to want to stop selling the game because the next system is out or anything like that. They're going to want to continue selling that game because it took them 6+ years or so to get that game out from when the original Breath of the Wild came out. So they're going to want to make that money back on the investment. So yeah, Tears of the Kingdom doing absolutely incredible on here. Of course, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon, you have a lot of the evergreen type of games, but Mega Man Battle Network showing up for here as well. Monster Hunter Rise, a lot of games that we know and love on there. So it's definitely interesting to see that. But speaking of sales on the eShop, there is a game that's actually dethroned The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which many felt that this game couldn't do this, and that is Pikmin 4. Now, I've been kind of tracking things with Pikmin 4 on Amazon, tracking things with the COMG pre-orders in Japan, kind of looking exactly how this game is going to shake up, because the Pikmin franchise has never been a massive type of franchise that's going to sell, you know, crazy numbers, 5 million plus or anything like that. However, Pikmin 4 is tracking to be a game that can do considerably better than what the best has ever done with a Pikmin game. Now, the best is Pikmin 3 Deluxe, which sold about 3 million units plus on the Nintendo Switch. That's the best-selling Pikmin game ever, but this game seems to be tracking well above that. In Japan, it's tracking above any other Pikmin game by far, and actually right around Final Fantasy 16 in that range or so, actually above that. So it should be interesting to see where it'll launch in Japan, but also here in the US on Amazon, it's actually the #2 best-selling game on new releases, so the pre-orders right there behind The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which is great to see beforehand. But also on the Nintendo Switch eShop, it's actually #1 above The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, of course, Tears of the Kingdom has already been out for a number of months now at this point, and Pikmin 4 is the new game, so of course it's going to have that surge, especially with the demo. But still, having it above it, you know, about a week or so before the launch of it is definitely a good sign for this game. Now, it's not going to hit what Tears of the Kingdom hits. Obviously, it's not going to do as well as that, but I do feel that it has an opportunity to do 4 million. It does have an opportunity to do well above what Pikmin 3 Deluxe did, because that was a port and people were excited to play that. A lot of gamers were excited to get their hands for the first time ever on a Pikmin game, and it was enhanced and it had a lot of cool features. And it seems like Pikmin 4 is really taking the formula and everything that they did and making it way better and removing a lot of the restrictions that would get people to stop playing Pikmin or just not interested. You have the nighttime exploration, you now have a lot more like upgrading, you have a bunch of other things that they've added in, custom character. So they've added in a lot of things that make it a little bit more enticing and exciting. You have a dog that can go around and get you around faster instead of just walking around everywhere. So I do feel that there's a lot of things in this game that has made it more approachable, has made it more fun, just stuff that kind of held it back. And I get why they did that type of stuff, make it kind of different, make it interesting. And Pikmin games have always reviewed really well, but I've always found them incredibly restrictive, having to go back every single time, having to go up into the, you know, the cycle in terms of like the day and night and all that stuff. It's like, it just got taxing for me, at least. I get it and I understand why people like it, but for me, I just got kind of tired of playing the games. But now with this one, you add a whole new element and dimensions to the games to where people can really have a bit more fun with it. And I think that's helping this game skyrocket to the top of the sales charts on Amazon, COMG pre-orders, and over here on the eShop. Obviously, the whole sales charts, you guys can check it out. I'll have it up for you guys. Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I mean, there's still a lot of the same games, Minecraft, you know, a lot of heavily discounted games like Mortal Kombat and all of that. But yeah, overall, looking good for Pikmin 4. About a week before launch. It's upcoming this week. Pikmin 4 is coming up soon. So what are your thoughts on everything that we talked about here, guys, from Nintendo Switch 2 to what's going on in Japan with Fire Emblem Engage and a bit more? Let me know in the comment section. Also, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out some of our other videos right here on screen. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you for the next one. Peace.